My name is Savannah Lodwick, and I reviewed an article about wearable tech in a program that was studying dietary habits and physical activity in relation to weight loss and obesity. The program in the article that I was assigned to is called IDEA, Innovative Approaches to Diet, Exercise, and Activity. The goal of this program was to change participants' health behavior in relation to physical activity and diet to regulate obesity. The article was investigated by John Jakisic of the University of Pittsburgh. This program was a part of the early trials, the Early Adult Reduction of Weight Through Lifestyle Intervention trials. As the trial's name implies, the programs are focused on lifestyle changes in relation to weight and obesity. In the IDEA program, participants were randomly assigned to two groups, making this a randomized controlled study. In the first 6 months, the participants partook in a standard behavioral weight loss intervention to get baseline data for the researchers. At the 6-month mark, telephone counseling was provided to participants. And after 6 months, depending on which group one was in, they either were provided wearable technology and were labeled as the enhanced group, or they were asked to self-monitor their physical activity and dietary habits. The program was evaluated based on the 6 major components, later explained in further detail. The evaluation took place at the end of the program, as the program had finished at the time of the published results. A validity assessment was necessary because of the lack of difference in the end results of the program, despite being statistically significant. I would recommend a follow-up study along the same lines as this one, with different age groups, so the results are a little bit more translatable to other populations. The one beneficial finding in this program study was that weight changed over time. However, weight changed less in the enhanced group with the wearable technology than those who self-reported in the standard group. At 6 months, there were no significant differences between the two groups in regard to weight. However, at 12 months, there were significant changes. The program researchers did find that there were significant changes in sedentary time reported by participants. Participants also reported changes in carbohydrate, fat, and protein intake over the 24-month program. Finally, at the end of the study, researchers found that there were no significant differences between the enhanced group findings and the standard group findings. The first RCT assessment variable is confirmability. The results of the research are relatively free of researcher bias because devices or self-reported results were how the data was collected. Given these methods of data collection, the evidence is reliable. The only issue with the methods is how believable self-monitoring truly is with something like dietary habits and daily physical activity. The researchers are lacking in their account for this discretion. I chose to look at the research methods in order to evaluate how accurate the data was and to search for researcher bias. Again, there may be bias on behalf of the participants, but as for the program designers and researchers, bias was not present, especially because it is a randomized controlled trial. The second RCT assessment variable is reliability. The results of the study, which primarily stated that there were no significant differences between the two groups' results, were all statistically significant with a p-value of 0.05 or less. This means that the results were reliable in the way they were accurate according to the given p-values. A positive for the reliability of the program is that the program designers were extremely clear in the goals of the intervention, which included changes in dietary and physical activity habits in order to alter weight. An issue with this program's reliability is that there were several factors introduced in the middle of the intervention, which may have influenced the results and therefore reliability of the results found. These additives include the wearable technology and telephone counseling at different times of the 24-month study period. The fourth RCT assessment variable is statistical conclusion validity. These three covariates are an interesting set of variables. Race is related to the cohorts of the study, while time and intervention are related to the time effects of the program. Race in relation to the cohorts makes sense, as race can be used as a variable that alters the outcomes of the results. The intervention is another factor that makes sense in a scenario because based on which intervention a participant was given, their weight loss results may have varied. Time also belongs in this intervention because the longer or shorter the duration of the program one participates in, the more or less likely they are to lose weight. The fifth RCT assessment is construct validity. The measurements and outcomes were clearly laid out by the researchers of this program by lengthy charts and data collection. Each section goes into great detail as to how one incident may progress in the program and what solutions are to be suggested. For example, they have an entire chart on how to assess somebody if they have too high or too low of blood pressure within the program. The fifth RCT assessment is external validity. The results are translatable in the sense that the results were all statistically significant with a value of 0.05 or less. However, the results are also not generalizable to other populations because the participants primarily were young adults and the results cannot be used for other age groups. So in this sense, they are, and yet they are not, translatable. The sixth RCT assessment is utilization. Although the results were statistically significant, there were not significant differences between the control group and the enhanced group, which leads the researchers' conclusions to not be as beneficial as they potentially could have been. One of the largest issues with this program is that a big portion of the results rely on self-reporting of the unenhanced group after 6 months. This creates unreliable data on the subjects of physical activity and dietary habits because the results are too reliant on trusting participants to be completely truthful in what they do day to day. Another issue was that the technology used to create wearable devices was not the most effective in monitoring weight loss over a 24-month period, which was an essential aspect of the study. The last large issue with this program is that it includes exclusively young adults, so some of the results of the study by the University of Pittsburgh cannot be translated to other populations within the country and throughout the world. Overall, the program was well designed and utilized the large sample size of 470 people to create a statistically significant data set. Another bonus is that the program utilized a randomized controlled trial, which calls for less bias within the data, especially less selection bias. Finally, the program hit all of the marks when it came to the 6 components, minus the validity because of the lack of generalized results. Here's my reference for the article, and I apologize for the few voice cracks. I've been sick all week, so hopefully if you've made it this far within this video, you don't mind all of that. So thanks for listening.